Year's Eve was always Olivia's favorite holiday. The air buzzed with excitement, the streets were alive with music, and the countdown to midnight always felt magical. This year, though, she had decided to skip the city's crowded celebrations. Instead, she booked a remote cabin in the woods for some solitude and reflection. The cabin was quaint, cozy, and equipped with everything she needed. A fireplace, a small kitchenette, and even a vintage grandfather clock that loomed in the corner of the living room. She arrived in the early evening, the last traces of sunlight fading behind the snow-draped trees. By 10 p.m., Olivia was curled up on the sofa with a blanket, a book, and a glass of wine. She noticed the clock ticking loudly, its hands moving with deliberate slowness toward midnight. The sound seemed to grow louder with each passing minute. At 11 p.m., the power went out. Olivia froze, gripping her phone for light. The only illumination now came from the faint moonlight filtering through the frosted windows. She fumbled her way to the breaker box, but found everything in order. When she returned to the living room, the grandfather clock's face was glowing faintly, casting eerie shadows across the walls. The ticking was deafening now. At 11:30 p.m., Olivia began hearing whispers. Soft, unintelligible murmurs seemed to seep from the walls. She tried to convince herself it was the wind, but every time she moved, the whispers seemed to follow. At 11:45 p.m., the whispers turned into voices. "You shouldn't have come here," they said in unison. She bolted for the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if the cabin itself had trapped her. Desperate, she tried to smash a window with a chair, but the glass didn't even crack. At 11:55 p.m., the clock chimed, its deep, resonant tones vibrating through her chest. Each chime felt like it was tearing something loose inside her. As the final minutes ticked away,